Hello friends, today in this lecture I will be discussing a small topic on measurement of shape of distribution or relative position. Measurement of shape of distribution, and the second topic is measurement of relative position. So these two topics are the part of numerical method of presentation of data. So these two are small topic and relatively lesser, uh, relatively of lesser significance. That means we don't have to study these two measures in detail, but we should have some idea about these two measures, because many times you will see objective question in your examination or even short notes, and this is also very important when you will be put into certain practical situation where you have to analyze your data or you have to study the property of the data that you have generated while doing your experiment. So in continuation to this chart that I have already displayed a few times earlier also, first we studied the measures of central tendency, then we have studied measures of dispersion, which include absolute measures and relative measures. Now in the another two topics of descriptive statistics, first one is measures of shape of distribution and measures of relative position. So in measures of shape of distribution, two distributions are important, two shape of distributions are important. One is skewness and another is kurtosis. And similarly, in measures of relative position, the quartile, decile and percentile etc. are important. So we will see one by one these about these measures. So first we'll see the measures of shape of distribution, in which first is skewness. So what is skewness? Skewness refers to lack of symmetry. That means whatever distribution that we have obtained, in that distribution there is no symmetry. How you will determine the symmetry? We will draw a curve from the data that we have collected and we will find that there is lack of symmetry in the curve or distribution. What are the other indications which will indicate that there is a skewness in the curve? So what are those other indications? The first one is curve is not symmetrical. That means curve is tilted towards one side. So this is a rough diagram. Okay, suppose this is the curve, so it is tilted slightly towards this side. So the curve is not symmetrical. Second one, mean, median and mode are different. So I have already told you while telling you about measures of central tendency that in normal distribution, mean, median and mode are coinciding at a point. But when in your distribution mean, median and mode are not coinciding at a point, that means they are not same, they are different, then certainly there is a skewness in your data. Then another one is the sum of positive and negative deviation from the median are not equal. So just try to remember the median. We have already seen that median divide a series of data into two parts. So what it is telling, that sum of positive and negative deviation from the median are not equal. If these two deviation, positive deviation and negative deviation, sum of these two deviation, if they are not equal, that means your data is skewed. Another one related to this one is the distance from median to quartile are unequal. We have already seen when we were studying about quartile deviation or interquartile range, the distance from median and quartile should be equal if your data is symmetrical or if your data is normally distributed. So I have already told you earlier also that we have to study the distribution about distribution of data. So that we will study later. Since this measures of shapes of distribution is coming under numerical method of presentation of data or the descriptive statistics, that is why here I am discussing about skewness and kurtosis. So when distance from median to quartile are unequal, then it indicates that your data is asymmetrical or there is skewness in the data. Now just see this graph. So here in this graph you can see this is the graph of normal distribution. Here you can see that at this particular point the mean, median and mode are coinciding. That means mean is equal to median is equal to mode. Such kind of data is called as normally distributed or it is having symmetrical distribution. That means skewness of this data is 0. There is no skewness in the data. There is no skewness. So such kind of data is normally distributed, having no skewness. Now what is then skewness? What is skewed data? So first we will see the positively skewed data. Positively skewed data. What is positively skewed data? So a distribution in which the value of frequency increases suddenly but falls rapidly. So a certain kind of distribution where values of frequency increases rapidly or suddenly it will increase but it will drop slowly. So it will drop slowly. Such kind of data is known as positively skewed data or positively skewed distribution. So what it is telling, the tail of the curve is drawn more towards right side. Here you can see this is the right side of the data and this is the left side of the data. So you can see the tail of data is more towards the right side of the curve. That is why it is called as rightly skewed curve. Why? Because tail is more towards right side. So why it is more towards right side? Because the frequency of the data is increasing rapidly. It is increasing suddenly and then dropping down very slowly. Such kind of data is known as positively skewed data. Here in this data you can see, we'll see the graph in the next slide, that in a positively skewed curve mean will always be greater than median and median is always be greater than mode. So the mean, median and mode will be in a particular order where mean will be the largest one, then it comes the median and then mode. And the coefficient of skewness will be 0. We will study later about the coefficient of skewness. So this is about the positively skewed data, which is also called as rightly skewed data, where the frequency of data increases sharply and decreases slowly. That is why the tail of the distribution will be more towards right side of the distribution. So this is the graph of rightly skewed distribution. Here you can see the data is increasing sharply and then decreasing slowly. So such kind of data is called as rightly skewed data. And here you can see that mean, which should be at the center, but it has been tilted or it has been migrated towards right side. That means the value of mean will be the largest, then comes the median and then comes the mode. So I hope this rightly skewed distribution is clear to you. Now the negatively skewed distribution or the left skewed curve. So what is negatively skewed distribution? In negatively skewed distribution, the frequency increases slowly. So what will be there? Opposite to the rightly skewed data or positively skewed data, the frequency will increase slowly and then it will decrease sharply. It will go to the peak and then from the peak it will decrease sharply. So the tail of curve is drawn more towards left side. So tail will be towards left side. So exactly opposite to the positively skewed data. Hence it is also referred as left skewed curve. Left skewed curve. So in a negatively skewed curve, mean will be the smallest, then comes the median, and then comes the mode. And here the coefficient of skewness will be less than 0. That means the coefficient of skewness will be negative. So based on this coefficient of skewness, this distribution is called as negatively skewed distribution. We will see the formula of coefficient of skewness. So just see this graph. Here you can see the frequency is increasing slowly and then decreasing sharply. That is why the tail of the graph is towards left hand side, and hence it is called as left skewed data or negatively skewed distribution. Here you can see the mode is largest, then median, and then mean. That means mean is smallest one. Now these are the measures of skewness. So I have already from the shape you can say that the data is skewed. But how you will measure the skewness? How much is skewed? What is the degree of skewness? So for that, this formula should be used. The first one is absolute measures of skewness. What are the absolute measures of skewness? The first one is mean minus median. That means deviation from median, deviation of mean from median. Then deviation of mean from mode, deviation of mean from mode, and then deviation of mode from Q3 and Q1. So this already we have seen when we were discussing about the quartile deviation. So skewness is equal to Q3 minus mode minus Q1. So these are the absolute measures of skewness. Another one that is important one is the relative measures of skewness. So this coefficient of skewness we have already seen. The coefficient of skewness for positively skewed data should be more than 0 and negatively skewed data should be less than 0. So what is coefficient of skewness? It is the deviation or difference between mean and mode to that of the standard deviation. That is why it is called as relative measures of skewness, that is coefficient of skewness. So it is mean minus mode divided by standard deviation. So the limit of coefficient of skewness is -1 to +1. So these many a times you will be asked in your examination, what is the limit of coefficient of skewness? So it is -1 to +1. Now there are certain situations when mode you will not be able to find single mode in your data. There may be 2 mode or 3 mode or more than 1 mode. So in such cases, if mode is ill-defined, coefficient of skewness is equal to 3 into mean minus median divided by standard deviation. That means the coefficient of skewness will be multiplied by 3. And in such case, the limit of such measure is -3 to +3. So practically, if you will get data, you will have there is every chance that there will be more than 1 mode or mode will not be well defined. So in such case, we'll use median and it will be multiplied with 3. So it will be 3 mean minus median, 3 into mean minus median divided by standard deviation. Both the above measures of skewness, that means the previous formula which includes mode and this formula which includes median, both of this is given by Karl Pearson. That is why these formulas are known as Karl Pearson coefficient of skewness. Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. Now this was about the skewness. So what skewness will tell that how your data is distributed, whether it is positive distribution or negative distribution. And based on, suppose somebody is telling that my data is having coefficient of skewness of 0.6. So what we will interpret that, okay, your data is positively skewed. If somebody is telling that my skewness of data is, coefficient of skewness is 0.9, minus 0.9. So I will tell that, okay, your data is negatively skewed. That means negatively skewed means your data increases slowly and then dropped rapidly, and your data is left skewed data. So this kind of interpretation we can make from skewness. Now the second measure is kurtosis. So what is kurtosis? Kurtosis is a Greek word which means bulginess, ubhar, bulginess, how your data is or how the graph of your data is bulged. So in statistics, it refers to degree of flatness or peakedness. So the literal meaning of Greek word kurtosis is bulginess, but in statistics, this means the degree of flatness or peakedness of curve. How your graph is peaked or flattened. So such kind of flatness or degree of flatness or peakedness is known as kurtosis. The degree of kurtosis is measured relative to the peakedness of normal curve. So how it will be compared? That whether your data is peaked or flattened. So there should be some standard. So that is so that we can compare whether it is more peaked or more flat. So what is standard? Standard is the normal distribution curve. So in comparison to normal distribution curve, whether your data is peaked or whether your graph is peaked or flattened. So that degree will be determined with the kurtosis. Now, based on this peakedness or flatness, the data can be divided, or your curve distribution, data distribution can be divided into three parts. The first one is mesokurtic. Meso means medium. So the normal curve is said to be mesokurtic. That means that there is no kurtosis. Mesokurtic. Another one is leptokurtic, a curve that is more peaked. So when somebody is telling that the curve is leptokurtic, that means the curve is more peaked in comparison to normal distribution. It is slender and narrow. The items are more near the mean and tails than an intermediate region. That means what is there? It is the data is more concentrated towards the mean. That means the tail of graph is smaller. So in such case, in leptokurtic curve, the coefficient of kurtosis will be greater than 3. So this you have to remember, because we don't have to go inside of kurtosis. That is why we have to remember these three terms: mesokurtic, leptokurtic, and another one is the platykurtic. And we have to remember the coefficient of kurtosis. So another one is the platykurtic curve. So what is platykurtic curve? The curve which is less peaked, that is, it is more flattened at the top than the normal curve. So how the curve will look like? So the most of the data will be distributed towards their tail. So tail will be extended and the mean will be lower. So there are fewer items at the mean. There will be fewer items at the mean and at the tails than normal curve, but more items at intermediate region. So the coefficient of kurtosis will be less than 3. We will see the graph and then it will be more clear. So just look at this graph. This is the case of leptokurtic curve. So leptokurtic, the frequency of the data, that means the frequency of the data is more at the mean, and it is lesser towards the tail region. Whereas mesokurtic, that means normally distributed data is normally distributed, and in platykurtic you can see the data towards mean, the data is more. That means the height of the curve will be lesser and that means कि most of the animal will be of intermediate performance. Most of the animals, if this is the distribution curve of annual performance, that means in plateautic curve most of the animal will be towards the middle performance. So this is all about the skewness and kurtosis. Now the second measure, that is measures of relative position. So these measures are widely used when we have a large series of data and we are arraying or we are arranging the data in ascending or descending order. So this is the, and many of these measures you might be exposed to. So the measures of relative position or standing, which are numbers showing the location of data value. So that means कि when we are telling about the relative position, measures of relative position, that means कि we are telling where my data is located in that particular series when the series is arrayed. So I have already told you about the arrayed data. So location of data value in comparison to the other values within the same data set. So this is the property of measures of relative position. So these measures are used to describe the position of a specific data value in relation to rest of the data arranged in order. So same thing said in a different language. So the thing is that the criteria is that your data should be arrayed. That means it should be arranged in a particular order, either decreasing or increasing, whatever, but it should be arranged. Now the first measure of relative position is quartile. So you are already aware about the quartile. So here the quartile, what quartile will do, it will divide the arrayed observation into 4 equal parts. So whatever data you are having, you have to arrange it into the ascending or descending order, and then you have to divide the data into 4 equal parts. That means there will be 4 equal parts, but there will be three quartile, Q1, Q2 and Q3. So what will be there? 1/4 of the observation lie below Q1. So below Q1 there will be 1/4 of observation and 1/4 above Q3. So just you see, this is the data. Suppose this is the data. What I have done, first quartile, this is Q1. So just a minute, we'll do it again. So this is the data. So this is quarter 1, this is quarter 2 and this is quarter 3. So data is divided into 1, 2, 3 and 4. But there are only three quartile, what Q1, Q2 and Q3. So what it is telling, that the 1/4 of the observation will be below Q1. So below Q1 there will be 1/4 and 1/4 will be above Q3. So there will be 1/4 above Q3. Now what it is telling, 1/4 of the observation lie between Q1 and Q2 and 1/4 between Q3 and Q3. So there are 2 quarters which lie between these two quartiles. Thus the quartile divide the distribution into 4 parts and there will be 3 quartiles. So already this quartile you know when we were studying quartile deviation. So just for revision I have included this quartile. Now other than quartile, one more measures are there, that is decile. So as name suggests, decile means your arranged data or arrayed data is divided into 10 parts. So 10 equal parts, but similar to quartile where data is divided into 4 parts, but there will be only 3 quartiles. Similarly, in decile also data will be divided into 10 parts, but there will be only 9 decile. So there will be 9 decile, that is from D1 to D9, but data will be divided into 10 parts. So data will be divided into 10 parts, but there will be only 9 decile. Now, now another similar term which you all are aware, because nowadays in competitive examination you are getting your result in terms of percentile, in terms of percentile. So you should have some idea, and you are also having some idea about the percentile. And this actually, this is not you don't have to get greater detail of this percentile in your syllabus, but if you are interested you can further study in some statistics books if you want. So what is percentile? The percentile are sometimes also called as quantile. So it is also called as quantile. These are measures of location. So these are again measures of location which divided a set of data into 100 equal parts. So similar to decile, which were dividing data into 10 equal parts, this percentile is dividing data into 100 equal parts with about 1% of the value in each group. So this 100 part, each part will have at least 1% of the data, and each set of data has 99 percentile. Each set of data has 99 percentile. You can see here, this is the lowest point and this is the highest point, and in between them P1 is the percentile 1, P2, P3, P4 till P99. So there will be 99 percentile. There will be 99 percentile. Data will be divided into 100 part, but there will be 99 percentile. So now, so if you just try to correlate it with your rank in the examination, either in NEET examination or somebody might have given IIT examination. So in that also you are getting percentile. So you can now think how this percentile is being calculated. Now the kth percentile, just another representation of data. The kth percentile, that is pk, is a value that almost k percent, if suppose this particular percentile I am targeting the kth percentile, that means ki the pk is a value such that most k percent of the data are smaller than pk. So k percent of the data, at most k percent of the data is smaller than pk, and 100 minus k percent of the data is larger than pk, as it is depicted in the picture. So this is the this is pk, okay, and that means pk represents the point where at least k percent of the data are lower than pk, and 100 minus k percent of the data are higher than pk. Suppose in a examination you get 99 percentile, that means k at least 99%, at the most 99% of the people are below you, and 100 minus 99% of the data is above you. That means 1% of the people are above you. So the just one example, the 50th percentile denoted as P50, that means about 50% of the data values below it and about 50% of the data values above it. So this P50 will be also known as median. If you think critically, then you will see that P50 is equal to median. So 50 percentile will represent the median of the data. So in the next slide we will see what is the relationship between this percentile, quartile, decile, etc. So here you see the relationship between quartile, median and percentile. So what will be the relationship between quartile, median and percentile? So first quartile, that is Q1, is same value as 25th percentile. So this quartile, you know, the quartile is dividing data into 4 parts. Similarly, if 25th percentile you are talking about, that means this Q1 will be equal to P25. Similarly, the second quartile, that is Q2, is same as 50th percentile. and this Q2, that means this Q2 will be equal to 50th percentile, and which is in turn equal to median. So this Q2, P50 and median are equal. So these are the relationship between these three measures, the quartile, median and percentile. Another one, the third one is the Q3, that is third quartile is same as 175th percentile. That means Q3 is equal to P75. So I hope this measures of relative position or relative standing is clear to you, because this is more applied. You have already encountered in your previous when you have written a all India competitive examination or state competitive examination or whatever examination you have written, you might be aware about the percentile, and this quartile and median already you know, I have discussed in the previous classes. So this is all about the relationship between quartile, median and percentile. With this I am ending today's lecture, and also we have completed the descriptive statistics. So now this descriptive statistics, just for your remembrance, I will show you. In descriptive statistics, we had seen the measures of central tendency, then measures of dispersion, then we seen measures of shape of distribution and measures of relative position. So with this descriptive statistics I have completed. Now in next class or next lecture, we will see about the probability and probability distribution. Thank you.